Welcome to Creative Imperfections. I'm Kelly, and I am so glad you're here. Think of this podcast as your safe place to be your beautifully messy self. Let's dive in. After having spent almost 2 weeks on the road now with my family, I am home and back to work as usual. And it's got me thinking a lot about my relationship with motivation. And I'm starting to believe that motivation and I are in a very one sided relationship. I seem much more committed to it than it is to me because motivation has a tendency to disappear without warning. No text message, no explanation, no, hey, I'm going to need some space right now. Nothing. One day it's here making me feel unstoppable. And the next day it has packed its bags and quietly slipped out the back door while I'm standing in the kitchen trying to convince myself that answering one email counts as productivity. And motivation is incredible when it's around. When motivation shows up, life feels easier. Suddenly, I'm drinking water, making plans, cleaning out drawers I haven't looked at in 3 years. I'm setting goals, feeling inspired. I'm writing things down. I am becoming the person I thought I was always meant to be. Motivation arrives with this energy that makes me feel like I have unlocked some secret level of success. Motivation arrives with this energy that makes me feel like I've unlocked some secret level of life. Motivation says things like, "This is it, everything changes today." And I believe it every single time. I become convinced that I've finally figured something out, that this feeling is permanent now, that I've evolved into a new species of human being who naturally enjoys discipline and structure and meal prep and long walks and waking up early. And then 3 days later, I'm staring at a task I was excited about and wondering why I suddenly feel like I need a nap before replying to a text message. And that's when the confusion starts because when motivation disappears, my brain immediately starts creating stories. It says things like, well, maybe you weren't serious about that, or maybe you don't want it enough, or maybe if you were more disciplined, this wouldn't feel so hard. My brain gets very dramatic very quickly because somewhere along the way, I think many of us have learned to trust motivation a little too much. We started treating it like the engine instead of the spark. We assumed that the people who stay consistent are the people who feel motivated all the time. Like they wake up every morning excited and energized and ready to conquer life. I used to think that too. I thought disciplined people had discovered some magical level of internal enthusiasm that I apparently missed out on. I imagined them waking up with inspirational music somehow playing in the background while they joyfully completed all their responsibilities. Meanwhile, I'm over here negotiating with myself over very simple things. Okay, if we answer this email, then you can have lunch. Okay, if we fold this laundry, then you get to sit down for 10 minutes. Okay, if we get through today, honestly, great job, everyone. But I'm beginning to realize that consistency has a lot less to do with motivation than I thought, because motivation is emotional. Motivation is based on energy and excitement and inspiration and feelings move. Feelings change and fluctuate. Some days you wake up feeling excited and capable and energized, and some days you wake up already feeling like you need a break from a day that hasn't even started yet. And neither of those versions of you is wrong. The problem begins when we make motivation responsible for carrying everything because motivation was never built for that job. Motivation starts things beautifully. It introduces possibilities. It gives us momentum. It helps us imagine something bigger. But motivation is a terrible long term business partner because it's so unreliable. It leaves in the middle of projects. It disappears during uncomfortable seasons. It vanishes right around the time things stop feeling exciting and start feeling repetitive. And honestly, that's usually when the important part begins. because there is a moment where excitement fades and routine takes over. There's a moment when the newness wears off and the work becomes ordinary. There's a moment where nobody is clapping and nothing feels dramatic, and you suddenly realize you're left with one question: am I still showing up? Not because I feel like it, not because inspiration arrived, just because I decided it matters. I think I've spent a lot of time waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel motivated, waiting for the emotional weather to become perfect before moving forward. But emotional weather changes constantly. If I only moved when conditions felt ideal, I would probably spend a lot of my life standing still. And I'm starting to think maybe motivation was never supposed to stay. Maybe it was only supposed to introduce us. Maybe motivation shows up at the beginning to point towards something and say, hey, look over there. That matters to you. And then eventually it leaves because now the relationship belongs to us. Because now trust takes over, choice takes over, identity takes over. And now we decide whether we keep moving after the excitement disappears. And honestly, I find that strangely comforting because suddenly I don't need to panic every time motivation goes quiet. I don't need to assume something is wrong with me because I'm not feeling inspired today. Because apparently motivation didn't leave because I failed. It just left because its shift ended. And now it's my turn. Thank you for listening to Creative Imperfections. Always remember, there's magic in the mess. If you enjoyed this episode, share it, subscribe, and keep showing up for your beautifully imperfect journey. Until next time.